that we may be looking at it the wrong way. That there may not be like a pure winner or a pure loser. It might be like a concept that dies, or an idea that dies. It seems like, whether it's capitalism or whatever,
or an entire paradigm falls away.
Yeah, and that kind of thing.
That would be fascinating to ask Neil Howe about and see what he can envision outside of this model that he's proposed. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of different possibilities, or we end up in like a Cold War type of thing with BRICS and us, kind of, right? Like who knows?
I mean, that's basically what happened. Like, you had the combatants that won World War II end up basically in this long, Cold War.
And also, we don't know how much humanity is going to be in a state of acceleration and simultaneous resistance against like integrating AI into our, everything we do in our lives and our whole existence. And that some of it could come from there too. So it's going to be fascinating.
Yeah. As we wrap this up, just I want to mention another great podcast episode I saw, I was more listening to it than saw it. It was Ross Delfett. He's got this interesting show. He's a New York Times columnist.
Yeah. I know Ross do that. Okay, yeah. Is that? I wrote a piece responding to something he wrote. He, interestingly enough, cites 9/11 as a turning point in, I forgot the term. He's got a term for it. Post mass culture, and is that it? And then he puts Radiohead in there too, I think.
Sure.
I might be getting my wires crossed with Stephen Hayden, because Stephen Hayden also was big on Radiohead and Kid A being this huge turning point. But yes, he's got a term for it, and 9/11 is the dividing line.
I think, to put it in a how framework, it's he sees 9/11 as sort of a precursor to larger crisis, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I see it as sort of a quickening, where it seems like culture and culture and society has not. It's the apocryphal line. There are decades where nothing happens, and there are weeks when decades happen.
Mm-hmm.
So it's stuff sped up in terms of world events, but it seems like, and I think we've sped up even further as post 9/11. Like 9/11 broke some sort of shield, I think culturally, mentally, emotionally, I think
of American invincibility, right? Of American invincibility, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some valid points there. I'd have to think that through a little bit further. But I think there's definitely some valid ideas there.
Yeah, I don't love his framing of pop culture following that same track of 9/11. I think it's a little too convenient, but I like that he proposed it kind of as a jumping off point to think about things. Right? I'm not like married to his framing, but I appreciated it nonetheless. But sure. I think on the actual in terms of the American psyche and 9/11 itself and us as a people, I think he's closer. I think he's there's definitely something there to in what he's saying.
Agreed.
So yeah, I'm familiar with him. I have to check out his podcast more, and I really have to check out Neil Howe's stuff more. I say this like every time I talk to you, but I gotta. I was like writing it down for a second there while I was looking away.
Oh, just on the oh yeah, I'll put the button on it as we close the Ross thing. I was listening to his sort of his last episode, and it was about AI. He was talking to this AI researcher. This guy used to work at OpenAI, and the idea was sort of um how basically the thought process was that we're not going to have any choice, like but to sort of integrate this into every element of our economy.
Just our lives. I think we're past the point
Well,
where
lives,
yeah.
yes, and I think people will push away, but when it comes to like, if the idea is to this thing is going to quickly become so powerful. Some people believe, maybe it's not, but let's just assume they're right.
That's what this guy from OpenAI was, who worked at OpenAI, was
Yeah,
saying.
and
Yeah.
I mean, not just him, but there's a lot of people who believe this, including Elon Musk, including Sam Altman, and so many other people,
Which is
and
amazing to
including the
me.
Biden administration.
Which is so amazing to me that people still poo-poo this as if it's, oh no, it's overblown.
Well, I mean, if you want, I mean, anyone who's listening to this, I mean, you can go listen to that Mark Andreessen on Rogan, which still really blows my mind about the conversations these tech billionaires had with the Biden administration, where basically it's like they didn't say this, but their actions were, we're scared of this and we're going to control this thing. Like, we're going to shut this shit down because like I don't like that approach, because it's not the kind of thing that you can do that with.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like if you are competing, if you're running an ice cream shop and the people across the street is running an ice cream shop, and you're like, oh, we're just gonna like not use milk and sugar.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna use all the milk and sugar we want. Like, no, you're gonna lose. So you can't just say, hey, we're gonna shut the shut down. We're not gonna innovate. We're fuck. This is and so like there's a lot of people who believe this is coming. And when I listen to David Sachs, who's the AI czar for the Trump administration, is similar, that like these things are gonna quickly become so powerful, and so that we're gonna have to like integrate it into our not just our technology, not just our everyday life, but in terms of a military context. That you really in that it's going to happen in a blink. That it is exponential already.
Mm-hmm.
And that the way we all think about all this stuff, it could be just moot.
Yeah, I mean, that has occurred to me.
There's going to be a lot of problems that come with it. I mean, like this guy was pointing to like mass unemployment, and he's in like, you know, I think for guys who like me who work in communications, I can see that definitely hitting us hard. You as well. But I think it's it was kind of because it was very smart how they walked through it, in that it was there was a devil's advocate sort of approach to the conversation that had sort of like pulled logical strands, like why do you believe X? Mm-hmm. That doesn't really happen in these techno-optimists or techno-cynic conversations.
Neither one, yeah. Neither one of them has that, yeah.
And I walked away more terrified by after a balanced approach to this conversation.
Yeah, I mean, so here's what we can do our part. We can have ChatGPT on the show and just ask it questions in real time on a live stream.
Next episode, you want to do a ChatGPT episode?
Yeah,
where ask it questions.
Totally, where it's the guest or one of those AI models, and
we'll do it
and see what happens.
Yeah, so this is what we'll do. All right, yeah. So we'll have an episode where we have three screens. There's you, there's me, and there's we'll plug up Chat GTP, and we'll ask the wildest shit we could come up with to it, and see what it says.
Yeah, and read aloud the responses too. I
Yeah,
mean, I think it would
yeah.
be great. So I love that idea. If we're gonna face this thing head on, we might as well do it in the spirit of I don't know, some sort of cavalier spirit. I mean, yeah, there's so much to say on this. I just find it so kind of galling that there are still people who are close to computing and tech and the sciences that just seem so smug in their certainty that we're no, this is overblown, and they could end up being right, but I don't see how, when what we're talking about here, like the scale and the extent, could just completely change so much on such a drastic level, right? So we'll see how it goes.
Well, here's what, to build on your point. If half of this shit's true, would
Right.
be drastic. A quarter in some cases. Like there's all this mass unemployment stuff where like, oh yeah, unemployment rate can like, we might end up with like 50% unemployment or whatever. Like we're already seeing things with self-driving cars, Waymo. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I have.
Where basically like,
We've talked about it.
self-driving taxi.
Yeah.
So, oh yeah, every Uber side hustle might be dead
Mhm.
already. Uber, we're talking Amazon. I'm working on my shorty on this one, where Amazon is actually they're training bots to not just drive their delivery vehicles, but step out of the car and deliver the package.
And should they train them to go after porch pirates too?
Maybe we'll have our own Amazon bot that chases off porch pirates.
Or will people hack them to become a vigilante porch pirate
Yeah, they might.
search and destroy team?
But yeah, like this is where we are. Where first of all, these bots, the plan is to have them in the next year or so riding with drivers, and then of course they're going to end up driving. Because if we got the Waymo technology already,
Yes, I mean,
if we got Tesla technology already, that's, I mean, and that's an entire industry nuked.
right. So I asked this before, and this is, it's like you keep expanding and giving machines the opportunity to do things for people. How are people going to be able to afford to buy the things these machines are delivering? And I don't think that's ever thought through. I think when technological advances happen, it's never the snowball effect is never really grappled with until after it the snowball starts to roll down the hill. So
The stuff that's happening here is, when it happens in society, it's usually slower. I
right.
mean,
So
that's what happened with, going from, independent businesses to, department stores. That's what happened with going from department stores to, inside cities and towns to shopping malls,
Mhm.
and shopping malls to go to Amazon and Walmarts of the world. So like it was a slow progression. And yes, there were, but I think what's different here is that a lot of this stuff is going to just sort of happen and happen way quicker.
yeah, and so again, to bring Neil Howe into this, I can't imagine this won't be some source of the crisis.
Could be.
And I imagine that it's going to be potentially he talks about internal versus external. I imagine there's going to be maybe some combination of both, and also not only internal and external, but existential too.
Sure.
So all of those three dimensions kind of compounding one another in what James Howard Kunstler so beautifully described as the converging catastrophes of the 21st century.
Sure.
So even when he wrote that, though, that was in the 90s when he came up with that term. He had no fucking inkling of this aspect of it, the AI part of it. He wasn't talking about that. He was talking about fossil fuels ending and climate change. Right? So this is, we're in a whole new ball game.
Right.
And I don't want to just be a techno alarmist either. I think those conversations aren't very useful when they only focus on that side of it, or when they're very shrill. But techno optimism is just almost autistic. And and actually that's even giving autism a bad name, because I've talked to plenty of people on the spectrum who are just autistic, who have plenty of conscientiousness in the way they look at problems. There's just something so limited about that whole gee whiz, this is going to be great kind of a thing. That stuff is gross. So we'll see. But I can't wait to have ChatGPT on as a guest.
Yeah. Well, Savvy, on that note,
have a great afternoon.
have a great afternoon.
Yeah. All right, everybody.